Halloween 4 is a way better Halloween sequel than Halloween Kills. Sorry, I need to stop pushing Halloween Kills around. But let's talk about why Halloween 4 is, in my opinion, the best Halloween sequel. Obviously, the ending of Halloween 2, you definitively ended the series. You burned Michael Myers to a crisp, quite literally. And then you brought things back after Halloween 3 failed. It could have gone really wrong. It could have come across as really forced. And I guess the bringing back of Michael and Dr. Loomis, there was no way around it. It was going to feel a little bit forced. Dr. Loomis set the fire. Dr. Loomis was the fire. Dr. Loomis would have more of an effect in the fire than Michael did, because he literally set it off. So Dr. Loomis is just as much of a mutant as Michael. He's just got like mild burns. Dr. Loomis, like he, burned himself accidentally or burned his hand with the iron. That's his burns in Halloween 4. Literally nothing, even though he set off the fire that destroyed an entire hospital. If we ignore that, I mean, we had to do that to bring back these characters, and the fact they don't go on about it, they don't push it, they don't really talk about it, it's annoying, it's silly, but that's really the only sort of thing I really have a problem with in Halloween 4. I mean, I probably wouldn't have much of a problem with Michael Myers surviving the fire if we didn't get the zoom in Halloween 2 of his face and eyes burning up. He'd already been shot in the eyes earlier in the film, look at his eyes there, burned up to fuck. But I do think this film immediately really does try and capture the spirit and feeling of the original. There's a blue tint to the film, there's a cold, misty feel to the film. The opening of the film really feels like a fall afternoon. This is just a really, really quiet neighbourhood, and the camera goes around the neighbourhood, and that's what Halloween is all about. It's about that's what I feel like has been lost about these new Halloween films. Halloween is all about the uncertainty of a quiet neighbourhood, and how terrifying it would be for a quiet neighbourhood to just lose all of its innocence. And that's what I feel this opening really does. Just showing all these places for Halloween which should be innocent, but there's a cold dryness to it, an oddness, and definitely when you know what the film's about. And I feel like this film understands what John Carpenter created in Halloween, the first movie. So when we start off Halloween 4, we see that this random lad has taken over all things involving Michael Myers and doesn't tell Loomis shit. Like he's moving Michael Myers, and he moves Michael Myers and doesn't tell Loomis whatsoever. This guy is the perfect example of those characters in this series, in Friday the 13th, who don't view Michael or Jason as a threat. They see all the shit that went on, and then the next month or the next year their brain just resets. Then of course the ambulance crashes and Michael escapes, and he's still going on, he's still talking his shit.
Sometime in the night, they probably lost the road in the storm and came down the embankment. It happened.
An accident?
Yes, sir.
You believe that? Why shouldn't I?
Gee, let me think. Why shouldn't you think that? What's the matter with this mug? Thankfully we don't see any more of this character, and everyone else in this film treats the legend, the kind of idea of Michael Myers with tremendous seriousness. Everyone in this shudders when they hear Michael Myers, they take it serious. Of course, Dr. Loomis, on the way to Haddonfield, meets Michael in a gas station, which I think is a really, really underrated scene in the Halloween franchise. I think it's one of the best scenes in the Halloween franchise.
Michael? Why now? You waited 10 years. I knew this day would come. Don't go to Haddonfield. If you want another victim, take me. But leave those people in peace. Please. Michael.
I love how time sort of stops for a moment, and Loomis has this seconds long confrontation with Michael Myers. I remember growing up, I always thought that this conversation was longer, but it's literally seconds, and it feels like time stands still for that moment between good and evil. You see Loomis's desperation come through, but also his earnest nature. He mentions he doesn't want the people of Haddonfield, he wants them left in peace. So, that humanity of Loomis against this incredible force who's just standing there motionless almost misty and foggy even inside the gas station. I think it's so well shot, so well done. I think Dwight H Little really did put loads of effort in to try and capture the John Carpenter style direction, and I still think he does his own thing in the film, but he pays so much respect to that first film. I really do think that. So of course in this continuity, Laurie Strode is dead. Obviously in this continuity she didn't fake her death, she is dead and gone. And she had a child called Jamie, played by Danielle Harris, and she has been adopted by the Carruthers family. Rachel, played by Ellie Cornell, is her sister. And immediately, you know, there's a real natural feeling to the relationship between Rachel and Jamie, and also between Rachel's parents and Rachel and Jamie. I really do feel there's a believable, homely feel to Halloween 4, and that's one of the main strengths. You know, I sit there and I watch Halloween Kills and I watch Halloween 2018, and nothing feels natural about the conversations. Nothing feels like a family talking. It just feels so weird and forced and odd, and people just doing weird speeches all the time. This is genuine people talking, and you get drawn in because it's a homely family atmosphere. It's so normal feeling, and they're so likeable. They're just people trying their best to gain that likability again. Very hard for slasher series. I don't know why it is, but slasher films just struggle to make their characters likeable. They really didn't here. You know, Rachel comes into the fold. She's just as likeable as Laurie Strode, if not more likeable in my opinion. I actually think Ellie Cornell hits this performance out of the park. She's so likeable. You know, she has flaws. You know, at the start of the film she moans about having to look after Jamie. You know, she has flaws. You don't have to write her as perfect or a Mary Sue or this and that. She's a regular, normal kid. But she has a good heart, and she cares about Jamie. And as the film goes along, we find out that how much she cares about Jamie, and how much she will sacrifice for Jamie. Danielle Harris as Jamie is fantastic. It's one of the greatest child performances I've ever seen. You know, it was going to actually go to Melissa Joan Hart from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It was down to her and Danielle Harris, I think, and I don't know if Melissa Joan Hart would have had the presence, because I saw her in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark when she was young. Obviously she went on to be quite good in Sabrina, but when she was young in Are You Afraid of the Dark, she wasn't good at all. And I feel like it was a stroke of really good luck and fate that Danielle Harris got this part, because she just seems to get it. And you see interviews with her behind the scenes in the making of 4 and 5, she just got it. She was so young, but she had no fear of the material. She was looked after. She was ambitious for a child actor. She was likeable, she was believable, she showed great emotion. Even people who don't like Halloween 4 and 5 love Danielle Harris as Jamie, and that's a huge achievement. You know, you look at other slasher series and you hate so many characters you hate and they never save the film. This, for even people who hate these films, Danielle Harris saves the film, and that's a wonderful achievement for such a young actress. See, the idea of Michael Myers now pursuing a child is very disturbing. You know, it's the ultimate boogeyman. You know, he's pursuing a child. He's the boogeyman in the closet. He's actually after a child in this film. You know, one of the most creepy things in the first Halloween was Tommy continually seeing Michael, and Michael stalking seemingly Tommy, and no one believing Tommy that he exists. It's that childhood fantasy of the boogeyman. She thinks of him as the nightmare. She calls him the nightmare man in the film, but then he comes into real. It's like Michael Myers, and it starts off literally as the boogeyman of her dreams, and he comes into real existence in her mind. It's the ultimate fear of a child for the boogeyman to come true. You know what? I've come around to Michael Myers' mask in this. You know, I still think that the Halloween 78 mask is the high benchmark. I think the Halloween 6 mask is the second best mask. This one, you know, people laugh at it today. They say it's a bit weird. It looks like Data from Star Trek, which I fully admit. But you know what? I actually have softened on this mask. I remember as a kid it did creep me out. I feel like the void is really pushed with this mask. It's snow white, this mask. And Michael's presented very ghostly in this film, so I feel like that mask goes along with it. Bo Starr plays Sheriff Meeker in this, and that is a real massive strength of Halloween 4, is the sheriff. I feel like sheriffs in horror films, sheriffs in Halloween films, do nothing, do bullshit. And, you know, even the sheriff in number 1, he doesn't really do much. This sheriff is proactive, he believes Loomis right away, he's immediately like, right, what can we do? I'll help you any way you can. Because of course he would have known what happened 10 years ago. Not like that donut working for the actual mental hospital who denies what happened. That's some kind of bloody in delusion loser. This guy, no, he knows what happened and he wants to work with Loomis and he puts his all in. This sheriff is so proactive, he's great, and every time I watch it I love Bo Starr in the performance. I think he's very likeable. I think he builds a nice little rapport and friendship with Dr. Loomis. I think he responds to the situation how you should, and he feels very, you look up to this sheriff, you know, people don't really talk about Bo Starr in this film. He's in 5 and he isn't as good obviously, but I think he's one of the most underrated characters in the Halloween series. Halloween night scenes in this are fantastic. You know, Dwight H Little, he captures that feeling, but he also adds a dimension of further creepiness to it. You know, we didn't really see a lot of trick-or-treating in Halloween 1978. We see trick-or-treating in this. Rachel goes trick-or-treating with Jamie, and it's getting darker, and the fog and the mist starts, and the blue tint of everything starts. And there's a real slow pace and a real gradual build-up, and we see Michael lurking. There's a lot of Michael lurking in this, and that's what he should be. He's, you know, he's almost like a spectre. You know, there's a terrifying scene where Rachel thinks she's lost Jamie. And, you know, and lots of people can relate to this. You know, if you have a little sister, you know, and you have a little brother and you take them trick-or-treating, the ultimate horror would be if you lost them. On a dark night, you know, those dallies around and houses and you know, all the kids have gone home and it's just dark and you're alone. That would be one of the ultimate terrors for yourself, but also the urgency of finding the child. And where Rachel goes through the alley and she sees the silhouette of Michael coming through with that mist is fantastic. That smoke and that mist is one of the best atmospheric scenes in the entire Halloween franchise. I think it outdoes anything that Halloween Kills does in presentation of Michael, I'll say it. And you know, the way he's just slowly walking. One of the ultimate fears of Michael Myers, but also fears in general, is seeing a silhouette of someone far away just start walking towards you. Because even though there's a distance, there isn't. They're still coming for you. You know, there's a distance, but they feel like they're imposing. And it, you know, it is one of the scariest images ever. Like a silhouette of something you don't understand coming towards you. Rachel shits herself and legs it. Good on you, girl. The mob idea is debuted here. You know, Halloween Kills, as I said before, it's just a rehash of loads of ideas and it's proven here. The mob is already in Halloween 4. You know, in this it's a bunch of rednecks who are driving around, and I like the way the mob's delivered in this, because it's not the entire town, it's not everyone and their mum ready to kill anyone who remotely someone goes, it's Michael Myers, kill the fucker! Like, just ready to do anything. No, it's a bunch of rednecks who go around with guns, thinking they're tough, wanting to protect the town, but it's just a group of them and they're driving around. They're still scared of Michael, they're still not just going completely hysteria mode. They're actually quite likeable, this mob. They're barely a mob, they're just a bunch of rednecks who, and say that in a nice way, redneck characters who go looking for Michael. Then it makes them more likeable. You know, you actually like them in this as opposed to Halloween Kills, because they're not crazy and silly. They're not just running around like headless chickens like they did in Halloween Kills. I mean, this even goes for what Halloween Kills went for, which is more brutal kills. It does. It ups the kills, it ups the gore. But what I think works in Halloween 4 is it's not that many kills. So when you have a brutal kill, it doesn't completely diminish the mystique and the style of the 78 film. Whereas in Halloween Kills, you get 9,999 kills. You see Michael go from place, 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 kill, kill, kill. Just some kind of murder machine. This, they have more brutal kills, but we maintain the slow pace. We maintain Michael's lurking presence. We maintain the slow build up to the kills. Some of the kills are a bit over the top in this, like, you know, shoving the gun through the girl's body. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolute joke. But, you know, it's one of however many kills in it. There's not many kills in this film. So to see a brutal kill just pop up, even though it's a bit silly, it still stands out because the film isn't about that. It gets away with being a bit more brutal, but it maintains what we know of Halloween, and that's where I think Halloween Kills completely jumped the shark. It just went, let's be brutal and nothing else. The kind of roof scene where Rachel and Jamie are climb up to the roof to get away from Michael, and he comes up to the roof as well. In the original script, the house was actually going to be in flames during this scene. Somehow it caught on fire and the house was burning down whilst they were on the roof. And I always thought, oh, I wish I could have seen that. I wish that would have happened. You know what? On rewatch Halloween 4, I don't know if I do think that. I really like that scene, but I feel like if it would have been on fire as well, it would have added an unnecessary kind of over-the-topness to it. Even though it's kind of a spectacle ending, kind of a crazy ending, culmination, it's still got down-to-earth feeling. It's still reserved, it's still tense, and you can still feel every moment. I feel like if there was flames and this and that, it would have just taken away from being on your edge of your seat. And it's a nail-biting scene. This is one of the most times in any slasher where I've ever rooted for characters so much. You're like, come on, you really, really want Rachel and Jamie to get away, and it's a testament to how well they're written and acted. When it comes to Halloween sequels, Michael's demise is always a bit dodgy. This actually has quite a good Michael demise. It's Michael standing there where the police, led by the badass Sheriff Meeker, shoot the shit out of him and he falls into a hole in the ground. I remembered that scene as a kid. It's always etched in my brain. I think it's a really cool scene. The whole atmosphere of the scene. The way it's lit and the whole the police fighting back against Michael. Michael finally being put in his place by the town of Haddonfield. I think there's a lot of impact to that scene. Obviously, we then have the curse passed on to Jamie. She kills her mother to end the film in one of the most shock endings in horror history. It's a really effective ending, really well done. Loomis is ready to shoot that little bitch right there and then. Would I have wanted to see the end of Michael Myers and just have Danielle Harris as the killer? A lot of people who say that, have they really thought about it? I would have liked them to have at least had Jamie almost go down that path, and then she manages to come out of it in Halloween 5. Maybe that's her redemption story. She almost becomes Michael. Whatever it is, I feel like they had no plan after this, and that's the perfect example of the Halloween series. Every fucking movie, every ending, we'll leave it for the next filmmaker. Fuck you, mate. We're gone. We are on Sunset Boulevard looking for a bus while you're stuck with this fucking script. There are flaws with Halloween 4, certainly. Obviously the mask isn't perfect. There's a really bloody dodgy scene where we get a blonde Michael Myers looking like one of the new kids on the block. Like an absolute donut. Already at Halloween 4 they were pissing around with the masks. I can't believe this early on they were pissing around with the masks. A hallmark of this series. Michael teleports a bit too much. I know I talk about him being Spectre and ghostly, but when it's blatant teleportation, you always have to have that discrepancy there of whether he's human or not. But when it's blatant teleportation, when it's bloody Doctor Who TARDIS shit, you can't defend it, like in the schoolhouse, and also when he just appears on the back of the truck and his arms come up and he gets... I suppose you're supposed to think he was hanging on the back of underneath the car, but still, it's just like, I don't know when he would have got under there, so that was a teleportation. There are a few kills that are a bit too over the top and a bit rubbish. Most of them are good. And there are a few leaps in logic. But I just feel like, as an 80s return of Michael Myers, it was really, really strong. It really, really was. It brought the character back in a big, big way. Let me know what you think of Halloween 4 in the comments below. Do you think it's the greatest Halloween sequel? I really, really do. I think it's very, very effective. But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you're a movie geek just like me. I'll see you guys next time.